March 11th, 2025 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. City Clerk, if you could please take the roll.
Buelow?
Here.
Stevenson?
Here.
Nichols?
Here.
Larson?
Here.
Esslinger?
Here.
Flom?
Here.
Muglebauer?
Here.
7 present.
Leading us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be Deputy Mayor Buelow.
Thank you. As we gather tonight, we are grateful for the good things that have come to the city. May our decisions always be ones that are for the well-being of all whom we govern.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, tonight we start off, we have two public hearings. This is the first reading of these of the public hearings. We have ordinance 25-83, approved comprehensive land use plan amendment from the light density residential to neighborhood commercial for property located at 1705 Oshkosh Avenue, and Plan Commission recommends approval. If there's anyone here that would like to speak to this, please come forward now. Ordinance 2583, approved comprehensive land use plan amendment from light density residential to neighborhood commercial for property located at 1705 Oshkosh Ave. Third and final reading, approved comprehensive land use plan amendment from light density residential to neighborhood commercial for property located at 1705 Oshkosh Avenue. We'll consider the public hearing on that item closed and move on to public hearing for ordinance 25-84, approved deletion of officially mapped Progress Drive from its existing southern terminus southeasterly to Vinland Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. If anyone's would like to speak to this, please come forward. Second reading, approved deletion of officially mapped Progress Drive from its existing southern terminus southeasterly to Vinland Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. And third and final reading, approved deletion of officially mapped Progress Drive from its existing southern terminus southeasterly to Vinland Street. Seeing no one, we'll consider the public hearing closed on that as well, and then those two will be on the next agenda for reading and action. I have no one registered for citizen statements to council. I do see we have some people in the audience. Did you guys want to speak on anything tonight? Because I have no one registered on anything. I just want to make sure I don't miss you.
I'm just here in case there's questions going on.
Sounds good. If we have some, we'll...
I did have a couple of questions. I don't have my phone with me, so I can't, send you a message letting you speak. I'd like to talk about the increase in the water sewer bill again.
If you'd like to come on up, this will be the time. If you'd like to come on up, if you'll give us your name and address. Welcome.
Thank you. My first time.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Keep it to 5 minutes, and this will be for items that aren't on our agenda tonight right now.
Okay, so the first item is the
I'm sorry,
increase-
what is your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Norman. I live at 702 Hawk Street in Oshkosh.
I'm sorry, what's the address?
702 Hawk Street,
And your last name again, please?
Norman.
Norman.
Yes,
Thanks.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was the discussion about the increase in the water and sewer rates again. Last year, we just increased them 18%. It's starting to get a little hard to live in the city of Oshkosh with all of the increases of the property taxes, the large increase in the water. I mean, we went from paying $35 a month to over $80 a month for the same usage in a year and a half. It's kind of ridiculous. Now you want more money. The second thing that I'd like to talk about are when they came around and they did the sidewalk repairs, they did all of the corners. They put those metal grates on the corners, supposed to be good so that they're not slippery. You can't shovel them, you can't plow them, you can't snow blow them. You have to get out there and clean them with a broom. It's kind of difficult. There's got to be a better way to do something with that. But you're all welcome to come shovel my drive and my corners if you'd like.
Well, hopefully the
That's all I
snow's all
have.
gone. Hopefully the snow stays away.
Well, right now, yes,
Hopefully.
but that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
I have no one else indicating they'd like to speak, so we'll move on to consent agenda. I do. What's that? Never mind. Okay. I have no one registered to speak on consent items, so I'll take a motion and a second on consent.
I do want to pull 15.
If I can get a motion in a second.
I'll second.
Motion over there.
Who first?
So,
Paul? Got it, thank you.
Paul.
And then Councilmember Stevenson would like to pull number 15, which is Resolution 2587, for a separate vote.
Yep.
Any other discussion or comments? If not, City Clerk, if you could take the roll on consent minus 2587.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Esslinger?
Aye.
Flum?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 25-87, approve appointment of city manager as City of Oshkosh representative to East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. I'll take a motion in a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Go ahead right away.
I have no problem with Rebecca being the person for this job here, but this is where I work, so I'm going to be abstaining from this vote.
She may not want to go there now.
Yeah,
She doesn't get a vote. If there's no other comments, we'll take the roll on 2587.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
present.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Esslinger?
Aye.
Flum?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 6-1 present.
Next up, ordinance 25-101, amend ordinance 19-7.1 regarding display of boat launch permit. I'll take a motion in a second.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Deputy Mayor.
Ray, if you don't mind coming up, I'll try to give you some time. And I emailed him earlier. I just wanted him to talk a little bit about how we're going to communicate this change to make sure that nobody gets taken off guard for it.
Sure. We will be posting on our social media site, and what we will do anytime we post is we'll tag Oshkosh Media and other city departments as well, so it'll hit social media in a number of different ways. And as I explained to Councilor Buell in the email response, for individuals that want to purchase a season pass, either they need to come into our department and purchase that, at which time they'll get their sticker along with the information, including where the sticker will go. They could purchase them at the pay stations, the electronic pay stations at any boat launch. The sticker's not printed out, they get a receipt, which is good for 2 weeks for their pass, and in that time, they need to come in and get the sticker from us, and then we give them the same information where the sticker should go and so forth. The other one, if they purchase it online, same thing, they'll get a receipt. We know by checking the transactions overnight who purchased it, and then we can get them the information via mail or when they come in to pick up their sticker.
Okay. So if somebody did put it in the wrong spot, is there going to be any like, that they can come in and show us, hey, I had it, I just put it in the wrong spot or anything like that if they do get a ticket?
Of course. And-
Okay, yeah.
And we are typically, our boat rangers won't ticket the first time. They'll give a warning for an issue before they issue a ticket for the same instance.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Sure.
I see no other buttons. If you'll take the roll on 25-101.
Bulow?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Esslinger?
Aye.
Flum?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Next up, new ordinance. This will be the first reading. No action is anticipated this evening. Ordinance 25-102, amend section 17-29 of the municipal code, speed limits for boats, to prohibit water skiing, wakeboarding, aquaplaning, or similar activities in the Fox River in Oshkosh. And the Advisory Parks Board recommends approval. Again, that's first reading, and that'll come back at the next meeting for discussion and action. One last item for action tonight, new resolutions. Resolution 25-103, approve city sponsorship of the Oshkosh Pride event on June 29th, 2025.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Councilmember Plum.
Thank you. This is one thing that I am very happy that we're having in the city. However, when we look at the events that the city sponsors, in my opinion, coming up, when you have people coming from all over saying, hey, can the city sponsor this event? For me, it's the question of why do we have these fees in the first place? So it's not about the nature of this event. I think anybody who wants to have an event in Oshkosh can have one. I welcome everybody in Oshkosh. Everybody is welcome to be here. For me, it's about a mission creep of government thing. So I will not be supporting this at this time.
Okay. Councilmember Esslinger.
Thank you, Mayor. watched the DEI committee when this came up, and I was kind of curious. The request was made, and not one person asked why. So I don't know why. Is this just to skate the system so you don't have to pay the fees? I don't know. Again, it wasn't asked. But we have two distinct things here. Number one is allowing someone the access to the amphitheater to have the event, and then the other is to have the city co-sponsor the event. Of course, we allow anyone that's within their legal means to be able to have events at the Leach. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think this kind of opens up Pandora's box. Then we're deciding on who should and who should not have to pay fees. And that's a road we should not go down. I mean, if you allow this group to not pay the fees and the insurance, then, where does it stop? Everyone will come forward and want that, I guess, the right to have it then. Not somewhere we should go. Last year, I think it was around this time, there was a co-sponsorship for the boats, the dragon boats, right. And it was my understanding that the city of Oshkosh was going to have a boat or two that was going to be staffed by city staff. And so I thought that would be a good co-sponsorship because the city's actually involved. I think this sponsorship or co-sponsorship is merely just a sponsorship in name only. There's really we're not sponsoring anything. So I voted in favor last year of the co-sponsorship because, as I said, the city was going to be involved in this. Ultimately, they did not. Let's see. And last year, this event evidently had about 2,000 people attending. So obviously, there's no problems with coming up with the money for it. Let's see what else we have here. So what if Waterfest would come forward and say, we have a great event, we don't want to pay the fees anymore. We don't want to pay the police protection that we have anymore. We don't want to pay anything. Does the council have the authority to waive those fees for Waterfest? Ms. City Attorney or Ms. City Manager? Yeah, okay. So, what if that happens? I mean, how much revenue do we get from Waterfest for their fees? Anyone have any idea? Ray?
I believe it's right around $13,000 for the summer series.
Okay. So, I mean, they have a right to come forward to the council and say, hey, we have a great event and we don't want to pay the fees. Right? Am I correct?
It would go through the same process.
Okay. One other thing, why is I understand that the DEI is in charge of, for whatever reason, deciding if these fees should be waived or not. Why isn't the Parks Board have this in front of them? Because this is run out of the Parks Department.
I think when the request came in for this event to John Fitzpatrick and I, we took a look at the request and how one was handled recently last year for the Juneteenth event. And when we took a look at that, the route that took was the DEI committee for recommendation. So that's the route that was proposed for this event.
But do you think that the Parks Board should look at, I mean, because it's run out of the parks and under your purview, don't you think that you should have some type of say in the matter, or the Parks Board itself?
We could definitely take a look at any of those. We haven't had, until recently, a number of the requests that have been coming forward, so we haven't in the past, but it's something we could definitely take a look at.
Okay. So I'm to understand that the fees for this would be approximately $500, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, that's all I have, Ray, thank you very much. So again, if we don't get the $500 here, then we don't get $500 from someone else, then we're gonna have a line of people here, event organizers, making the case that they have a good event. They're all good. That's not the question, but again, we're just going down a road here. We're opening up Pandora's box. So I think we should have a policy, unless the city is truly an organizer of something, that we do not allow these fees to be waived for any reason. I guess that's a purview of the council, but I just don't want to get into any legal mess where, well, you said yes to them and you said no to me. Why'd you say no to me? What's the problem? And I don't want to be in that mess. Thank you.
Councilmember Nichols.
Thank you. As the Oshkosh Herald reported several months ago, I'm gay. And so, so I would like, if I can take just a minute of personal privilege to talk about gay pride, because that's what we're talking about today, and give you a little bit of gay history. So, and just so you know, when I say gay people from here on out, I mean lesbians, gay people, transgender individuals, bisexuals, everybody that Dave Chappelle would include in the alphabet mafia. It's just, that's a lot of words and letters to say all at once, so I'm going to say gay people. So and Paul, you might remember this, in June of 1969, that was a joke. In June of 1969.
It's always good when you have to tell people
It's good. In June
I've been told that.
In June of 1969, there were gay people in a bar in New York City that resisted arrest by the New York City Police Department. The police officers were doing their jobs, and they were enforcing a city ordinance that made it illegal, essentially, for gay bars to exist. And they said, we've had enough. They had nowhere else to go. They were using this bar truly as a place where they could find community, but also sometimes just shelter. So the police raided the bar, and these gay people said, we're done with that. And they fought back. They got violent. Police with their batons, and the gay people with what I assume were men's size 13 6-inch stilettos. Fully stoned, of course. And that, what became known as the Stonewall riots, lasted for a couple of days. News reporters were there, and they took one picture. One picture exists, as far as I know, and they wrote an article. Now, that article spread throughout New York City. And then it spread to larger cities where you had large gay populations, like Chicago and San Francisco, and then to smaller communities, like Louisville, Kentucky, where I'm from, and Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And other people reading that story said, you know what, I've also had enough, and I'm going to stop hiding in closets when police raid my bar. That's where that phrase comes from, of coming out of the closet. And so eventually we had a amount of progress, which certainly we're not done with. But this community continues to advance in society and be welcomed more and more and more. And I hope that progress continues. It's because of the people at Stonewall that I'm able to sit up here and talk to you all today. It's because of the people at Stonewall that I'm able to hold my husband's hand in public. So every June, gay people get together and throw a party in public. And that's really for two reasons. One is to commemorate Stonewall and the progress that has happened since June of 1969. And the other reason is because we weren't always allowed to throw a party in public with our friends, who we refer to as allies sometimes. So what are we talking about? And Councilmember Esklinger and Councilmember Flom, they talked a lot about fees and fee waivers. This is a $500 fee, as Councilmember Esklinger mentioned. We're talking about a fee waiver for a nonprofit organization that is trying to host a community event. And we candidly do that pretty frequently, to Councilmember Esklinger's point. I know staff, you're tired of hearing me ask about this bird watching event. But there's a bird watching event where I assume bird watchers are with binoculars looking at migratory birds. I don't know, I'm not a bird watcher. I don't have anything against bird watchers, as long as they don't throw their lifestyle in my face or ask me to be a bird watcher. But if I went and decided that I was going to go to that event, I might learn something about bird watching. I might also decide that I'm going to meet someone new that I wouldn't have met otherwise. I might decide I am a bird watcher, but we don't know. If I'm really not into bird watching, though, I could just stay at home. I go to a bar. And so these events exist for the community at large. They're optional. They're for everybody. And I will say, too, to Councilmember Flom and Councilmember Esslinger's points about fees generally, I did talk to staff today for a long time, and I really appreciate staff time. Our special events ordinance does not cover these types of activities. It covers things like Waterfest and fees associated with it. But waiving a fee for a small nonprofit organization that's trying to put on a community event that otherwise would not happen in a place like Oshkosh is not covered under our ordinance. Bird watching isn't covered under our ordinance either. There's some gray area we realized today in our conversations that it's not clear if something comes out of a committee, where does it go next? To Councilmember Esslinger's point, the Dragon Boat Festival came to council. The Juneteenth event came to council. The Gay Pride event comes to council. It seems there's a pattern of things that are coming to council, but things like the bird watching event, the bike event, those go directly to another department. And so I think there's some gray area there that staff has agreed we can clean up, and it wasn't intentional. The reality is that this is a new area. As budgets become more and more constrained, especially from nonprofits who receive funding from state and federal governments, they're going to be asking for this more often. Now, if it's a profit-generating venture, like Waterfest, for example, my personal opinion is that they can pay those fees. But if it's a small nonprofit that is trying to let as much of the community in for free as possible to educate them or give people a place of community to celebrate an event that is important in history, I think it's difficult to have that be a revenue-generating organization that could pay for these fees. So I appreciate staff's time today, by the way. I know that you all gave me more time than you have, because you have no time. But I appreciate you sitting down and walking through the process with me. And I know none of this was intentional, but this item was always going to pass, and we know that. And I think we can differentiate as a council between organizations that are profit-generating, like Waterfest, and organizations that are trying to do something really good in our community for a group of people that might not otherwise have the chance to identify their community in Oshkosh, who their friends should be. And I think we do a really good job as a local government of not only ensuring that people have homes and houses, but making sure that they feel like that they're home too. And this event accomplishes that. And it wouldn't otherwise exist in a place like Oshkosh. So I will be supporting this event. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. And I really appreciate staff taking the time to meet with me, but also to look through our existing policies to make it clearer of what events should receive a fee waiver and what the process should look like, and which one should come before council to maybe say no to. Thanks.
You got it. Deputy Mayor.
I almost want to just end with that because it was so beautiful. I guess I should say, Carl, who is straight, I want to speak on this as well. A couple years ago, it was 249 other people and me, because they estimated 250. 2 years ago, it was 799 other people and me. And last year, it was around 1,999 people and me. And as a cis, straight, white man here in town, I thought it was a fabulous celebration of love and caring about the community. It is so fun to see, I get this experience at the Grand Oshkosh, I got this experience at EAA, I got this experience in a lot of places that I've gotten to enjoy here in Oshkosh. To see people in an element where they feel loved and enjoy what is going on around them is one of the coolest things that a person can be part of. If you don't want to come, don't come, obviously. But if you're free that day, it is an amazing event, and I am glad to vote in the affirmative to sponsor this.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilmember Stevenson, it looks like Councilmember Larson just after.
I will be far more boring than the awesome comments that have been made here today. I think that's the reason this body exists. There is a gray area, as DJ kind of pointed out. It's a very small nonprofit. You guys aren't making money off of this. The reason this council exists is to vet these things out. That's what we're doing right now. I very much support the Pride event. Ditto to both these guys. I think it's an easy way to bring people together. It's an easy way, low-hanging fruit, to really make people feel welcome here. Plus, one of our committees supported it. I think those are kind of the two litmus tests for me. If a committee supports it, it's within kind of our realm of mission statement and everything, and then now this council kind of gets to chew on it after that. So, again, I think that's kind of the direction things should take. Very supportive of this event, and thank you for bringing it to us. So,
Councilmember Larson.
All of the same for sure. Happy to support, happy to always support, always will support. Happy to serve next to you guys with the great words, so thank you for that. I just wanted to weigh in, and that's great. Thank you.
I'll be boring too. That was a joke. Sorry. No.
Do you have a history lesson for us as well?
Right? No, I do not. My only thing I wanted to provide a small amount of clarification on, it was in the memo tonight, but when you look at the charter for our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, one of the duties under Section D, number 3, is to educate the public, and the committee will create a public education plan, and then the other part is actively plan, sponsor, and participate in events. And that was the charter that council gave to when creating this committee, and the committee is doing so right here. They're giving us a recommendation to help be a part of an event in the community, and for that reason alone, the cost doesn't matter to me, but for that reason alone, it's in their charter, they're suggesting it, and I accept their recommendation, and so as I said, I'll be boring on it, but be supportive of it for those reasons, so. If nothing else, we'll take the roll on 25-103.
Buelow,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Nichols,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Esslinger,
No.
Flum,
No.
Mughawar,
Aye.
carried 5-2.
That wraps up the action items for this evening. We'll move on to council discussion, directing the city manager, as well as future agenda items. First thing on, this one's been on for a while, hopefully it can come off. Discussion, direction to city manager, A, process to place items on the council agenda. There was an attachment to the agenda tonight, an updated flow chart. I appreciate city manager Grill and staff working to polish that up and put it into a format that's easy to understand, and I guess thoughts, comments, questions? Basically, this solidifies what we've roughly discussed. You know, first thing should be a discussion with the city manager, because you never know what they might be working on already. So to alleviate or not to waste anyone's time in terms of duplication of efforts, and then if you don't get the answer as a council member that you like, it can go on an agenda for discussion, and then, you know, 7 individuals get to weigh in on the opinion and on their opinion, and see how it moves from there if that's the road it needs to take. So, Councilmember Larson, followed by Councilmember Flom.
Sure, mine, questions and concerns, same as last time. I actually like the last flow chart better, but I don't care which flow chart it is. My concern is with the, boy, let's call it rectangular box on the right-hand side about what goes on an agenda afterwards. I don't, as we know, and we've discussed this, I'm not a fan of the 4 nodding heads interpretation of what gets something moving forward. I don't know that we need a formal vote on it, but the last time we read that, the last time we looked at this, it was if one counselor has an item, one further beyond that is enough to move that forward into an actionable category. That I like as a rule, because I presume that whatever becomes actionable will follow with either a vote or something that exists somewhere along the line. But this is all about not wasting staff time and moving things in a manner that makes sense. So the only part for me I want to change is something over there, because I don't like the interpretation of who's determining whose heads are nodding when.
One, if I can jump in a little bit,
Yeah.
I mean, one option is the chair can take a poll, and that can just be part of the requirement of, it's not necessarily a nodding head, it's just actually, all right, Councilmember Larson, you know, it doesn't have to be the clerk, all right, you know, it can be that.
Yeah, I don't care what it is.
And if we want to codify that would be something that then future councils have to do, and that's okay.
And that's kind of where I'm going with this. I'd like to see a process for this so that future councils know what it is and what it isn't. Because it's been vague to me since I got here, and that's because I have awful ideas. We all know this, and they're hard to get, they're hard to put forth. But
Not while I'm taking a drink, Chris, please.
fair enough. But just so, as you all sort of know, I like things to keep moving, and I don't want to have outstanding issues of underground utilities for 18 months. You just don't. So having that piece of this that's part of that puzzle, so then we have record of something happening that moves it forward is better than it just going from 4 nodding heads to outstanding issues, and then in the following year we address it. I want to see more progress than that more rapidly, and I think codifying this portion of that thing helps with that.
So, in the light purplish, pinkish colored box in the lower right is what you're referring to, does council give direction to staff to pursue?
Yep.
I think if you're asking, or as I was kind of inferring, you know, basically a poll of council, you know, not to say required, but can be, but then what I'm hearing, what I was just hearing though is, it's then, once it gets past that, if it got 4, for example.
Yeah.
That it doesn't just lay in wait, that you want to see progress. I can understand that, and I think we're actually, later in the agenda under the outstanding issues, I have a very small thing I'm going to bring up.
Great.
In terms of the timelines and calendars for us.
Yep.
TBD doesn't,
Correct.
I shared it with Ms. Grill. TBD doesn't work for me anymore for some reason. It may have worked in the past, but it's just not working for me too much
Sure.
anymore.
If I may, the last time we discussed this, you weren't here and that's fine, but the last time we discussed it, I think it was Councilor Floam who just suggested that an item that may become actionable essentially gains a co-sponsor, and that's the part that moves it forward. Be that a formal poll or informal poll, I'm fine with it being one other counselor agreeing to it, but whatever it is, something like that is fine.
Okay. Councilmember Flom and then Councilmember Nichols.
Okay, so for
Flip the
this,
game that down, I guess.
for this, the point for me, I very much agree with Councilman Larson on this. I am not a fan of the four nodding heads. I think it is a soft poll that does not give enough clarity about in which direction council wants to go, especially if it's close. And especially if certain council members have nuanced opinions about an agenda item saying, yeah, I'd like to pursue this, but I may want to go in a different direction when we get to point B. So for me, I understand, I've said this multiple times before, the biggest thing for me is that a single member can bring an item on the agenda that may or may not be actionable. This is probably the closest thing I will get to actionable, so I can agree on that point. If there is a hard poll of members taken to proceed with a certain agenda item instead of just nodding heads, a definitive yes or no, I think for me works, because that is the closest thing that I think I will get at least to coming with an action item and having council vote on it. So I can get on board with that.
Councilmember Nichols.
Yeah, I think, I like the way this is listed out. I also like the idea of us doing an informal poll from the chair. I think the only change I would make, and Lynn will appreciate this, there are 7 of us, and I think I would like it to be 3 people that say yes rather than 4. It's good enough for the Supreme Court to take a case with 3 rather than 4. I think it should be good enough for Oshkosh City Council to do the same. And it's because I think that as things develop and more information is pulled from staff, we might actually be able to have that 4th or 5th person because they might not understand it at the time it's being discussed. So that would be my request in a change here, that we're not looking at a majority before we actually talk about the issue we want to talk about. We're looking at a healthy minority, but I'd ask for 3 rather than 4.
Councilmember Esslinger.
Thank you, Mayor. I handed out a little, I don't know, what do you want, flyer or information sheet. I got this from Representative Lori Palmieri. She gave this to me in regards to Chapter 64, the way the state of Wisconsin reviews Chapter 64, and this is very simple. Their rules with this, it says, an agenda shall be prepared for all meetings of the city council by the city manager. Items may be placed upon the agenda by the city manager, mayor, or any member of the common council. So, I'm no lawyer, but the way that I'm reading that is the city manager, the mayor, or a council member can place something on the agenda. And that's how the state interprets Chapter 64, our Chapter 64 of the rules, and how the council would, police itself, or how it would put things on the agenda.
I think you have to go to the next sentence, though. And I think that this flow chart accomplishes what the next sentence says. Because it says, an item placed on the agenda may be removed from the agenda prior to the meeting by the city manager, or in the case of an item placed by the mayor or the council member, by the members who placed the item on the agenda, right? So if it's placed on the agenda, it can be removed.
And this
By the person.
is ordinance, so it's subject to your rules, not
No, I get that, but all I'm saying, Lori said this is how they would view the issue of who put something on the agenda and how, and the amount of people, and this is one.
So this is within our municipal codes. This is our municipal code, and this has been the guiding document for a very long time in terms of how to put something on the agenda. Councilmember Esslinger, you're the one who brought this forward several months ago about how to get something on the agenda, but what you're bringing now is the exact process that has been in place for years. So I'm not so certain that I understand where you want to go with this particular topic and where the confusion lies. In this particular case, the flow chart actually formalizes it with a picture, and so if people can't understand the words, they can see the picture, that in this case of how to get something on the agenda. So, and in this case, the flow chart actually helps solidify that if it is removed, or if it doesn't want to be placed on the agenda by the city manager, there's an actionable way to get it on there.
Well, I just want to respond to that. If you didn't understand my position on this, you must have been out to lunch, because I've stated it I don't know how many times. I think a council member should be able to put something on the agenda. They don't need permission from any other member. That's my belief on how something can be put on the agenda.
City Manager Grill.
Mr. Mayor, I believe this was one of the questions
Yes,
that
it
I
was.
was asked. In the interview process, certainly this is the process that I think has been followed. The flow chart here does include, I guess, a request to contact the city manager so we could talk through what you're requesting first before it gets put on the agenda. As I think I mentioned when I answered that question, would not stop a council member from adding something if they wanted to.
Right.
It's just a matter of, like we talked about the poll workers, like, let us look into this first, because it just is more efficient that way. So to me, this, you could do it without this, but this is the way it is, but just for efficiency of government, it helps if you give me a call or to talk about
Yeah.
it first, so.
I agree.
Deputy Mayor.
And I'm not sure if this is where the confusion comes in or not, but I think potentially the nebulous area right now is a member can put anything they want on the agenda under discussion, not under an action item that requires staff time. The way that I read both our Section 215, which is currently codified as an ordinance, and the helpful infographic really does clarify that whether the city manager supports it or not, there is a mechanism for any city councilor to get it on the agenda. It would just be under council discussion. If it is something where the council member and the city manager do agree that there is a adequate, reason to move forward and dedicate staff time, that can happen before the council agenda aspect. That's the way that I'm reading what's happening, and I really like that. I also have no problem in adding verbiage to the purple oval, as you called it, the does council give direction to staff to pursue. I like the suggestion of 3. I do like the suggestion of an oral yes or no, an informal straw poll, if you will, because I think if 3 people say, yes, this is worth looking into, that, like Councilmember Nichols said, could lead to even a 7-0 vote, because once we get it all sussed out and clarified. So that is my input on it. I really appreciate the work that's come to this. I don't want to see us start all over. I think that the infographic that we have agrees with the current Section 215. It just gives a little bit more clarity and understanding in the process.
Councilmember Larson, followed by Ms. Grill.
I was going to ask for the same clarification Carl just gave. I'm of the same presumption that you can add anything to the portion of the agenda titled discussion for any reason without question ahead of time, correct? And I don't know if we need to codify that as we're codifying this, but I understand it the same way you did, Carl. It's a question. It was a long question.
Just want to make sure it's my turn to talk.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes, I would say that's true, but I would also just say that we'd probably have a discussion before it gets to
Of
be
course,
the
but
discussion.
I'm viewing the flow chart as the formality of what may undertake staff time and effort after the fact.
Right.
Because we all want to be cautious of that for your sake and future council's sakes and for the sake of progress in general.
Yeah. And
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I also wanted to clarify, it might not be that I disagree with the council member either. It might be that it's a big undertaking for staff, and we want to make sure that at least 2 other people are on board with it before we spend that time.
Yep.
So,
But this
just to clarify that.
This provides, the flow chart provides recourse for that as well. So generally, it won't matter, because anybody can add anything they want to for discussion. This is the next step, and if you can't get something added for discussion, this is also the next step, hence flow chart.
And as the CEO of the organization, I understand that you may know about something coming down the pipeline that I may not.
Yep.
So fully understand that. Sorry for speaking out.
Councilmember Flom, followed by Councilmember Stevenson.
Maybe I can get on board with a soft poll and a strong minority in that regard, because I think if you're going to have council members, 3 of them feel very strongly about a particular topic that may be in the more nebulous phases of planning, then you can go ahead and craft a policy, and then it's ultimately up to council to decide about whether or not they want to pursue that. So for me, this is probably the closest, as I said earlier, that I'm going to get to having 1 member, one action item. But with that in mind, I'm okay with that for now. As you can probably tell, I am very sick about talking about this. But moving forward, as long as we can have a more structured discussion on an issue that one council member may want to bring and say, hey, I want this to turn into an action item sooner rather than later. I don't want to wait, to Councilmember Larson's point, 8 months for this. So for me, I would like something a lot more structured, and this, I think, is the closest thing that I'm going to get to that. So with that, I don't want to reinvent the wheel for, the fourth time now? So, yeah.
Councilmember Stevenson, followed by Councilmember Nichols.
Yeah, it paid off going last, because I think we cleaned it up before I had to talk. Yeah, I like this flow chart. Thank you for putting it together. I'm more than okay if we wanted to do some sort of poll or even a vote, and 3 people can pass it along. I think that makes sense. I think where this all kind of started was the nodding heads thing. I think we talk about it a lot, but having individuals up here formally say, yes, please move forward with it, I think is what we're getting at. And I think I would like to see that out of this body, that we're physically saying, I approve, move forward, or I don't approve, don't move forward. So other than that, I think the flow chart works well. I think we all called the circle ones a different color. I'm seeing pink, but I heard purple and red. I don't know. But again, thank you for putting this together. I think the 3 is good. I'd go with that as well.
Councilmember Nichols.
Yeah, I think just one more thing that I would say. I know we're all used to Mark Roloff sitting in that chair, and I think that having Rebecca over there is going to be a change. We know that. So I'd like to give her the benefit of the doubt on the timeline. I know we've talked about that a couple of times. I'm not blaming Mark for anything. But I know we have a fresh pair of eyes looking at how we do things and our requests. I think I want to make a motion to incorporate this, but are you ready for that, Matt?
We can do a motion, or we could also make sure that we clarify for staff that they have the proper direction given. Or is that what
Well, I'm going to make
gets
a
me in
motion
trouble
to add this
sometimes?
a little bit.
Okay.
So my motion, so we can decide, is to incorporate this formally into council rules, amended, though, to add that you have to have a poll of at least 3. Can we not do that now, Len?
No, I gotcha.
Okay.
You and I are on the same page, so I was just going to give you some language.
Oh, perfect, thank you. Perfect.
Second.
Well,
Hold on, I don't think it was done yet.
yeah, I don't think we're done. So how should I, hold the second is what I was saying.
How about if we add into the pinkish purple little
Yeah.
oval, by affirmative direction of 3 or more members present.
That, what she said.
And then I was going to suggest that we would add it into the council rules, and those, obviously, you will get another look at in April, but that
Perfect.
would be the way I would suggest doing
But
it.
these would go in tonight if we vote yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Vote on them at next council meeting is what I'm hearing.
No, we vote right now.
Second. Right now.
I mean, if you want to give the direction to
Oh,
incorporate
I'm-
them
okay.
now,
I
I'm good
apologize.
with that. If you want me to
Yes.
bring them
No, no.
back next one, I'm okay with either way.
I'm good with that.
Cool.
It's been
I think we have a second.
All right.
Second.
Got it.
Thanks.
No, I got this.
See you in a minute.
Okay, so there is a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion on that only. I see none. I'll call the, Councilmember Esslinger.
Thank you. Just a procedural question. Doesn't this have to be on the agenda for us to vote? I mean, I know it's on the agenda, but in an actionable item for the public to be able to speak to it?
It's under discussion and direction.
So no, it does not.
So you can give us direction to incorporate those into your rules.
But with a formal vote, though? I thought that anything that had a formal vote had to be before, you had to give allow public input first.
The public could have talked on this. It's on the agenda, it's properly
Okay.
noticed.
Good enough.
And if I, just, I think when we do like our ordinances, like the 2 readings, I think that's more just for, it's our own personal process, right? It's not legally, yeah. So I think we more do those 2 readings just to help people know that it's out there, to help us know that we have to do the reading. But it's not like a legal, like a state statute or anything. We can approve ordinances here and now as long as they've been noticed on the agenda.
And we do.
Right.
Yeah, yep.
I see no others. If you'll take the roll on the motion and seconded to update council rules, as noted.
To update the council rules as noted, Bulow,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Nichols,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Flom,
Aye.
Mughawar,
Aye.
Does that mean it can come off?
Carried 7, and we'll update the information for you.
Appreciate staff's time and the council discussion on this. Moving on, incentives for boards and commission members. This is from Councilmember Esslinger. Councilmember Esslinger.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I thought about this, we have boards and commissions that need to be filled. We have people that take a lot of pride in their boards and commissions, and they are, of course, unpaid. I think the city has some resources that are valuable, and so I just had the idea that maybe for an incentive and a reward for the people on the boards and commissions, and poll workers too, I'd like to add the poll workers to this, that there would be some type of pass, whatever you want to call it, a yearly pass for the boards and commission members to be able to use. And, some of the things that the city has under its purview is Pollock Pool, the train that we're going to bring back, Zuluween Boo, Waterfest maybe somehow. But, there are other activities that the city does have. And so, so this would be, I guess, kind of free. I don't think there's any financial impact that there would be to the city, and I just think it's a goodwill. If nothing else, it's a goodwill gesture to say, hey, we really do appreciate your time and efforts. The drop-off site is another item we have. So what I'm thinking about here is there's, believe it or not, kind of a lot to consider here. This would be good for a year. Let's see, what else do I have on here? I would like to see it transferable, so if, you don't want to use it for something, you can give it to a family member or whatever. This pass would not be available to city staff or city council. I'd like to see an attendance requirement. I don't want to see people joining boards and commissions just to get to use this and then they never show up for the meetings. I don't want to do that. So I think, this would be something that would be really good for the city manager and maybe Mr. Fitzpatrick to kind of hash out what would be included, how, one pass, is it 2 passes, kind of the nuts and bolts of that. So just wanted to kind of get everyone's thoughts on that proposal.
Councilmember Stevenson, followed by Councilmember Nichols.
I thought this was going to be a different direction than that, but I do generally, I am in favor of maybe looking into if it's a per diem system or if there is some type of incentive to get people on boards. I'm in favor of that. And the reason that I know we want to be responsible with our money and everything, but the way that I look at this is this really is about getting people in those seats, and it's about getting a diverse group of people in those seats. I look at a single mom is probably never going to be on plan commission, right? She doesn't get paid to have a babysitter to be able to come to that meeting. And while I really value people putting in their time and their volunteerism to do these, I'm not at all shy about saying that I think they should get some sort of compensation. It doesn't have to be a lot, but enough just to cover that hour if you're a shift worker and you had to take vacation because you want to be on the DEI committee or something of that nature. And so I guess in general, I like the idea of looking into incentives if we could. Also, we don't have, I think, all of our boards and commissions filled, so this would help in that regard as well. So,
Ms. Grill, please go in front of me.
I just wanted to share so people know with the poll workers, they do get paid. We're looking at their salaries in comparison to other comps. So I believe we have 173 of those, so they do get paid. So might be something to consider, just separating those from the other people, the other 100 people that, the positions on the boards, committees, and commissions, and then look at the poll worker pay separately. As far as the structure, I'm not sure if we're giving people lots of options and things like that. The administrative time might be a lot, but we can, if you want us to look at it, we can try to do something that would be minimal administrative time.
Councilmember Nichols.
Thanks. I think initially I just want to point out the irony that there was a no vote from this member about waiving a fee for public use, but now we want to provide public things to people in the community for free. I think that's interesting, and so I just want to call out that irony. I'm opposed to this. I think that volunteering for your community is a good thing. I think that's what we're asking of people. I don't want someone to join a board or commission because they would like a free train pass. Seems like the wrong reason to join a commission. I don't support us getting paid. I donate my full council salary to nonprofits in Oshkosh. I think that's what we should be doing as a community, is understanding how we can help those that need help. I don't think that the members that are willing to spend their time on boards and commissions, I think they're willing to do that today. I know I did that before I was on council. I know many of us did that before we were on council. And good people are willing to do it. Smart people are willing to do it. I don't think that the single mom that can't be on plan commission, I don't think that the Waterfest tickets are going to get her there, because it's not going to give her a babysitter. So I don't think this accomplishes what we're talking about accomplishing. Again, I think there's an irony in what we're willing to pay for and what we're not. So I will be opposed to this. I think this, just to clarify, Len, we've now incorporated that item into the rules. So this would be one where we do take an informal poll on. Is that right?
We would.
I don't know that you're, if,
Part of the rules.
I'm not sure you're ready to have Steph prepare something, or if the direction is just take a look at it.
Okay. But it would be 3 votes at this point, just take a look at it, I think. Is that,
Yeah.
do I have that right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Got it, thank you.
Councilmember Flown, followed by Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, for this, you get into something for the reason of volunteerism and serving your community. You don't get in it for compensation. I understand Councilmember Esslinger's point, but none of us here do this for the money. None of us here do. And so for me, I would kind of like to keep things the way they are. I understand it's hard to attract people to do things. It's hard to attract people to sit on boards and commissions, but I think we can encourage more civic participation without tying some form of extra compensation to it.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I have a couple different things. The first thing is, and I think it goes back to the last item, and I, for one, am really appreciative that Councilmember Esslinger brings things forward to discuss. I think this is a good point to what Mr. Stevenson said, to provide some background on it, because I thought this was a completely different discussion as well to what we're having. So I know I always try to include an email that can be in the agenda so we know kind of the crux of what we're talking about, especially as we go forward. If somebody can put an item on the agenda like we just decided they can, making sure that there's some sort of background information so that we can have an intelligent discussion, before we're just on the spot. What you're talking about is volunteer appreciation, which is something I've been involved in a lot of different organizations. And I don't know, City Manager Grill, if you know this yet, or maybe Mr. Fitzpatrick can help out, but do we have anybody in the city that is responsible for volunteer appreciation and how that runs? Because I know the police have their volunteers that they work with, and
Yeah, we have volunteer appreciation in a variety of different contexts. We do recognize people who are boards and commissions through service milestones, so they are provided plaques. We certainly have additional recognition just departmentally, where we recognize them in front of the other employees. We appreciate them, certainly. So those are some of the things, just a smattering of things. I would also add, and I know this is a little bit off topic from your question, but we did have a pretty significant vacancy rate for boards and commission members prior to, and some council members might remember this, we did a restructuring of the boards and commissions, took a look at the number required, try to provide a little more uniformity. And that's greatly helped. We still have some vacancies, but it's not nearly as bad as it has been in the past. I know Councilmember Esslinger remembers some of those challenges that we had in the past, but it is much better than it has been recently after those changes.
Thank you.
If that helps.
And I know I have my 5-year from Transportation Committee at home, and I'm very proud that, and I didn't receive any other compensation for that, and nor did I want it. The other thing with volunteer appreciation, and I learned this, like I said, through many different organizations, is it needs to be tailored to what they want, what the volunteer wants. So I would not be comfortable giving direction to put forth anything in place until we know if it's going to be something meaningful to the people serving on the boards and commissions. So at this point, if you're doing a straw poll, I would be a no vote on it.
Councilmember Esslinger.
Thank you, Mayor. Guess I'm a little confused and disappointed with DJ's comments. I don't find any irony, DJ. The Gay Pride event is for people to come down and have fun, and we have standards that they are set to pay, and now one we're letting off. This is for people that are working. I have respect for those people. I wish you did. But then again, this is from someone that also didn't want to listen to their constituents with their taxes either, so I understand.
Cities, I don't know, was it Mr. Fitzpatrick that had the button pressed before? No, that's okay, I just didn't, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Flom, you have the floor.
So when I think about, you said committee restructuring, and then I had an effort when I was in the county board to restructure our committees, commissions, and boards there. That ultimately was unsuccessful because you had board members who were making per diem on each of their committees, and there was a financial stake involved for them. So in my opinion, this is just kind of a common aside, there were not enough citizens serving and too many elected serving. Here we're the other way around. We rely on citizens serving instead of electeds because there's only 7 of us as opposed to 36. So for me, I like the fact that our committee structure is automatically reviewed, and I think instead of introducing a financial or otherwise tangible input for this to incentivize more participation, I think kind of more education to the public on what these committees, commissions, and boards do and how much of a difference you can have, even though you're not elected yourself, you can have on city policy is rather tremendous. So I think that component for me, more of an education piece, would be good. I'm not saying city staff is doing a bad job of it now. I see routinely on socials, please join a committee, commission, or board. We're always looking for people, and you guys routinely advertise that, and I really appreciate that. But for my part, just kind of seeing what happened at the county, and you had members who, I don't want to point fingers, but some of them, I think, voted against a certain proposal because A, they were getting per diems off it, and B, they happened to have a chair title at the end of their name. So the chair title isn't necessarily germane to this conversation, but it just kind of reminds me of what happened and how that all went down. So those are my 2 cents on it, and I think we shouldn't really go in that direction, but I appreciate the conversation. I do think it is worth bringing up.
Councilmember Larson.
I was just going to add, I think if we're going to move forward, I like the idea very much of finding some easy way to appreciate our volunteers. That's great. Tying this as an incentive to get people involved or replace something that they're missing, I'm not into that part at all. So if it's something nice we can do and offer services we already have, that sounds awesome. If it's tied to being a part of what you're doing, not so much.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Just final comments. I would love to be at a place where we have to turn board members away. I guess is where, I think a while back I was asked, why are there vacancies on your board? Why are all the people at council white men? And I didn't have an answer for that. And I don't know if this is the answer or not, but I think having an easy way to get different folks to the table and incentivizing people to be on boards is a good thing. Again, if the board doesn't want to do that, I'm more than okay with moving forward with what the board wants, but I do believe in paying our people what they're worth. I do believe in incentivizing people to be part of their community. I don't think it's a negative to get paid for the work that you do. So that's my final closing comments.
All right, in terms of moving forward, we did just pass something that said I need to do a straw poll here on moving forward on some things. So I imagine Councilmember Esslinger would still like to move something forward. Is that a yes?
Yeah.
Can we summarize what we're moving forward
That
exactly?
I think-
Is it the pass for the train?
I think, how about this? Councilmember Esslinger,
Yeah.
why don't you ask us what you'd like us to consider here?
Okay.
Thank you.
I think John and Rebecca kind of get where I'm going. There's many things that are available, and I'm actually saying, kind of putting the ball in your court and saying, this is a bad idea. We shouldn't do this. That's one option. We should do this. Here are the options. We feel that they should get a pass for this or pass for that. Whatever that is, from nothing to everything that we have, to the amount of passes, The attendance requirement, if that's a good idea, maybe that's a bad idea. I mean, I guess that's the idea, so I think the staff would be better off reviewing this and coming up with with what they feel would be the best option, or options. So I'm not trying to dodge the question, but I think there are many questions, and for the 7 of us to try to figure that out, it's just not going to happen. So,
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
So I think the request that you're making of staff is to figure out a way to incentivize people, ranging from paying them a lot of money to giving them a free pass to the train.
I guess that's in a nutshell.
And
yeah.
but there's no opinion on what it should be, or even if you
I'd
should
like to
do
hear
it.
their opinion on what it should be.
So are we directing the staff to tell us if we should incentivize, period, or what
Yes.
the incentive should be?
Well, if they feel that it's a good idea, then I want to hear what would be appropriate to do that, in what means and to what extent.
That's helpful. I think just as we're figuring out this new rule of 3 yeses rather than nodding heads, I think the person bringing it would be helpful for me if they could articulate exactly what we are asking staff to do.
I get it.
And that'd be helpful. Thank you.
We've heard from Councilmember Esslinger. Councilmember Flom, are you interested in having staff pursue this?
At this time, no.
Councilmember, Deputy Mayor?
At this time, no.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
No.
Mr. Larson?
I still don't know what we're pursuing or not. That's the problem here.
That's why it was a no.
Right, and I'll ask one more clarifying question, not to make this go on further, but Paul, I think what I hear you saying is, staff, do we have options that might be valuable to people, and can you tell us what those are? No? I mean,
Say that again?
are you asking staff to tell us whether they should incentivize people or not? Or are you saying, what are the things we could offer as incentive?
Yes.
Well,
What are the
one of those things or both of those
Well,
things? The
one
second
has to come before the other.
Okay.
They could come back and say, we thought about this, we hashed it around, not a good idea, don't do it. If that's the answer, if that's what they believe.
Okay.
Then they come back with, if they said, hey, this is a good idea, here's what we have at our disposal, here's what we suggest you should do.
I'd like to hear them just talk about the second part, but it's not my ask. Just what's at our disposal, that makes sense to me, but I don't think now's the time to have staff weigh in on whether we should or should not incentivize. So as asked, I'm a no, but if it's only what's on offer, I'd be, yeah, let's look at it. But it makes it more confusing, right?
Yes. I have no idea what you just said.
I don't know what I just said. I mean, I do know what I just said.
This is also irony, just for everyone to know.
I agree. I'm going to be a no as well. My suggestion would be, Councilmember Esslinger, to have a discussion with city manager and to provide some additional clarification on that topic with her, and maybe it can come back, or maybe it can't, based upon the discussion you have with her then, I guess. Moving right along. Future agenda items, meetings, and workshops. We have a pre-meeting workshop at our next council meeting, March 25th, 5 PM. Staff is going to have a workshop with us regarding the liquor license process. If there's any information that staff is able to provide in advance, council is always appreciative to be able to digest that early, ask some questions, and hopefully have a vibrant discussion during that time. Councilmember announcements and statements. I have one brief announcement. There are some board and commission openings. See, I told 2 jokes tonight. Currently, there are 2 openings on our board of review for alternates. There's 1 opening on landmarks as an alternate. There's 1 opening on our long-range finance committee. So if somebody likes finance, 1 alternate, as well as 1 opening on our plan commission as an alternate as well. Those are the 5 current vacancies that reside on our boards and commissions.
Out of how many estimated served?
200 and, I forget.
North of 200, though.
Don't quote me on that, but I forget. Dozen or so boards, yeah.
Sounds about right.
I could be way off on that number, I apologize, so. That's it for my announcement. Any more announcements or statements? I see none. City Manager Grill, the rest is yours.
I won't go through each one of them, but are there any questions on the purchases 34 to 37?
I have one comment. I appreciated, this happened actually during budget a few years back. I posed a question to Public Works about their need for a certain type of vehicle for a certain type of activity. And even in here, you know, they're doing the review. Do we need to have this when we're purchasing, when they're making their requests for their next vehicles and their next piece of equipment? Do we have to have what we currently have? And I appreciate it. Saved a few $1,000s, and as we discussed, you know, at different times, every dollar does matter. And I appreciate the effort of not just doing what we've always done, that they went through a review process and determined they didn't need to spend a few extra $1,000 in taxpayer money. So thank you for doing that due diligence.
I'm going to talk about 38
I
and the
only,
TBDs.
I only wanted to bring up the under outstanding issues. And this has been a thing for a while. This is not new. Generally, we put something on there, or staff put something on there, or Ms. Grill will put something on there, and the next status report update area, we'll have dates on some of them. There are 2 on here that have TBD. And while I referenced earlier, for a while that seemed okay with me, but for some reason, as of late, TBD isn't something I'm interested in seeing too much more. I think staff asks council to not lay over things indefinitely without a specific date, and I think it's okay for me to ask that of staff as well. And if there is no update when the date passes, that is okay to tell us that we don't have an update, but we think we'll get you one in X period of time. I don't know what other councilman thinks, or if Ms. Grillo, what your thoughts are, and I know we chatted earlier, I gave you a heads up at least, so.
Yeah. No, I think it makes sense to put something down there. If there, like you said, if there's no update, that's what we would tell you, but at least then you would be currently in the know of where we are or aren't. So I'll talk with staff when we get together and put next list. We'll not have any TBDs, they'll have dates on there, or we'll give you an update.
Sure. Also, welcome as well. So.
And there's, sorry.
Go ahead.
And some of these, we've been getting updates as they're available, so it's not like.
7th Avenue.
Right.
I was going to say, I'm thankful the list is shorter now than it used to be also, which is helpful, and fits, some of that credit goes to you also. So your time as interim was well served.
If there's nothing else for the good of the city, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.